right, everybody. Welcome to the Panther Nation podcast. This is another edition of Crossing Enemy Lines, and today we have my man Jess Root from Rise Up, See Red podcast. How's it going, Jess?
Doing all right. How about you guys? I mean, bad news on y'all's end, but hey,
yes.
we're seeing it across the league right now. It sounds like.
Yes. It's a part of the game. It happens.
Quarterback bug.
Yeah. So luckily for us, on this podcast, we're realists, and we kind of expected this. When he got injured in preseason, me specifically, speaking for myself, I kind of knew this was going to happen. I didn't think he was going to last the entire season. I think it was just a matter of time before he was injured. But before we get into all that, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us where our viewers can find you if they have any further questions.
Sure. Well, I'm Jess Root. I run the USA Today NFL Wire site, cardswire.com. I host the podcast Rise Up, See Red. I've been covering the Arizona Cardinals as a writer. I grew up. I'm born and raised out here in Arizona. Was about 11 years old when the team moved here from St. Louis, and I've been a fan of the team for pretty much my entire life. But started covering the team, writing about the team on a couple of different networks starting in the end of 2010. So I've been doing this for a while.
Awesome. That's awesome. I think you're probably the highest profile person we've had on our podcast. So I definitely appreciate
him and Deuce.
Yeah, between him and Deuce. Yeah. So we appreciate you coming on and taking the time out. But for the first question I had, this is my question. This is our question. Before we even get into the game, the first question I gotta know: who came up with Rise Up first? Was it the Cardinals or the Falcons?
That I have no idea.
You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say we've been saying Rise Up since the 50s.
As far as I know that we've been doing Rise Up Red Sea since at least before the Super Bowl. So it's been at least a decade that I remember
y'all got the Falcons beat.
I think you got them beat.
I didn't hear about this Rise Up nonsense till about 5 years ago. So I think you got them boys beat.
I think you got them beat. Yeah. So
yeah, man,
even if it's not true, we're gonna go with that. We're not gonna give the Falcons any kind of credit. So we're going with it. Cardinals, you heard it here first.
Keep Pound is absolutely older than freaking. What was it? Rise Up.
Yeah, Rise Up. Yeah.
Absolutely older, and those guys been around for 40 years.
Yeah. So you
do better.
Even if it's not true, we're giving it to the Cardinals. All right.
I'll take it because going back now. I remember the Falcons Super Bowl year back with Chris Chandler. They didn't say that then. So
they absolutely did not.
No. Yeah.
They
so
absolutely did not.
We're rolling with that. All right. So let's get into this game. We're both teams are looking for the first W. I mean, albeit you guys have a tie. Panthers currently 0-2. Cardinals 0-1-1 with the tie. So obviously news just broke maybe midday today that Cam Newton is probably not likely to play due to his ankle or the re-injury of his ankle. And so you'll see a Kyle Allen. He's been in the system for a couple of years now. He knows what's going on. I'm actually pretty confident that in that Kyle Allen as a pocket passer, we'll see. I think the timing may be a problem with North's system. It's a timing. It's a timing-based system, so I'm a little concerned about that. But having Kyle as a pure passer, I think will do much better than Cam did without the scramble ability. So, but what are your initial thoughts on the game coming into it? How you feeling?
Well, the Cardinals in their first two games have been promising. The context is last year they were dreadful. They were bad, they were boring, and they were bad on both sides of the ball. And so far through two games, it's very optimistic. And the truth is, even though they're winless, if they could be more effective in the red zone, they would be 2-0 right now. As crazy as that sounds, they're 2 of 8 in the red zone right now in terms of efficiency. They've gotten 2 touchdowns. It's just one in each game in the red zone. The rest of them kicking field goals. And if they convert a couple of those against Baltimore, they win that game. If they convert the one that'll look like they were going to have a touchdown with David Johnson, it was called back, and then they ended up having to kick the field goal. They win that game too. So the offense has shown promise. There was a little bit of growing pains early, but it's very clear that Kyler Murray is promising, can handle the position, and will make plays. The offense, with slow starts, has been explosive.
Yeah. And
the defense hasn't, well, statistically it's bad, but has been somewhat effective. I mean, if you look against the Detroit Lions, they gave over 100 yards on the ground. They gave up almost 400 yards passing and 3 touchdowns to Matthew Stafford, but they did hold them to 33% on third down, and that was not the case. It wasn't. They were not good on third down against Baltimore, but Baltimore actually look like the Ravens look like they are legitimately a good team this
For sure.
year. So.
For sure, absolutely.
Both those teams. So the Lions went and beat the Chargers. The Ravens look very good so far. So the Cardinals are 0-1-1 against two teams that look to be fairly quality, and it's a good position to be in with the Panthers coming into town, who, winless. They've been close in their games, but it's from the vibe I'm getting from everyone talking about the Panthers, that it is a pessimistic view on how their season is going right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Again, our defense is pretty solid. That's one thing. If there is to be confident about anything, it's our defense. Rivera is a defensive guy, and if it's one thing he can call, it's the defense. And he's done that pretty effectively over these first 2 games. The offense is a whole nother story with Cam Newton being, not 100%. It's difficult to gauge how good our offense could be. I think with a healthy, solid quarterback, I think hopefully he'll be solid. But I think we'll be competitive. Kyler is go ahead, Dave.
It's dependent on our line, particularly our left tackle.
Yeah.
Because our left tackle got murdered last Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah, Darrell Williams struggled mightily, and I don't know that you guys. I don't know. I mean, you can tell us a little bit about your defense, about the pass rush. I watched a little bit of the Cardinals game. The Ravens game, and you guys got after Lamar a little bit. He obviously presents that challenge with the ability to escape the pocket. That's a completely different monster. But tell us a little bit about the defense. How's the pass rush doing? Is there something we need to look out for specifically? How's Terrell Suggs doing? What should we be afraid of?
Well, you look at the Cardinals up front. The edge is one of their strengths because you got Chandler Jones on one side. No one has had more sacks than Chandler Jones since he came over to the Cardinals in 2016. Terrell Suggs still shows that he's got it. They didn't get a sack against the Ravens, and Chandler Jones' pressure, the way he was rushing the passer, actually opened up the edge, broke contain, that gave Lamar a few running lanes. But in that first game, the Cardinals pressured Matthew Stafford on 47% of his dropbacks. They sacked him 4 times. Terrell Suggs had 2 sacks in the opener. Chandler Jones had a sack. Both forced the fumble. So they are getting pressure. And Chandler Jones has been incredibly consistent. He's averaged just under a sack per game for his time with the Cardinals.
That's crazy.
And so they've got a good edge presence. They have good safety play. They have decent inside interior players. There are questions at linebacker a little bit, and the Cardinals defensively have been bit by the tight end bug. They gave up over 100 yards to T.J. Hawkinson and over 100 yards to Mark Andrews. Yeah. And Greg Olsen comes to town as one of the best who's ever played the position, so that will be something to watch. One of the matchups that obviously Carolina's probably going to have an advantage. And the truth is, playing without Patrick Peterson and Robert Alford, with Tremaine Brock and Byron Murphy, it hasn't been an unmitigated disaster. which was what many of us thought would be.
Right.
It hasn't been awful. There were a couple busted coverages against the Lions, but overall, Brock and Murphy played well. In fact, Murphy has been very good in 2 games as a rookie. Brock has he's messed up on a couple of plays. He's gotten burned a couple of times, but he also, against Detroit, he made a game-saving play. He saved the Cardinals from losing in overtime, breaking up a pass to Kenny Golladay in the end zone. So he's a guy. Kenny Golladay. I mean, Tremaine Brock is not. And he's starting. He's a replacement level player. You know what you're going to get from him. He's going to do okay. He's a 10-year vet. He knows the system, but he's never been a full-time. There's really only been one season he's been a full-time starter, which tells you a lot about his play. So he's good enough, but he's not very good.
Right. And you brought up Byron Murphy. We were huge. Well, me specifically, I was a huge fan of Byron Murphy coming out. I pegged him as the best corner in the draft. Obviously, I don't think he was the first corner drafted, but I really like Byron Murphy, so I'm glad to see he's out there doing well. Speaking of Patrick Peterson, how's that whole saga going? Just a side note, is he going to be traded? How's that looking?
Well, as of right now, he's basically persona non grata for the next while because he's on the suspension for 6 weeks. He can't have any contact with the team, but anything else that's been going on, it seems they seem to have mended those fences. Whatever happened last year, he was frustrated, want to get traded. I personally have thought that it was a ploy to get a contract extension, and he wasn't able to do that this offseason simply because of the cap situation. But then something happened in the offseason. It was dealing with his suspension. They wouldn't redo his deal. They wouldn't, and this is just wildly speculating. The Cardinals shuffled up their front office. Terry McDonough, who was the assistant, he was basically the VP of player personnel, has all but disappeared. He has a generic executive position. He doesn't show up in meetings, so I think they're kind of pushing him out. It was probably something he said to Patrick that upset him, that caused him to stay home from all the voluntary work.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So Dave, any questions so far?
David Johnson. How's the wrist?
That's a good question. He said it's fine. He came back into the game. Cliff Kingsbury on Monday said he's good to go, but Field Yates reported that the Cardinals brought in a couple of veteran running backs for a workout. I think Zach Zenner, Alfred Morris are a couple of running backs they brought in, which means maybe it's not as great as that everyone's saying, or maybe there's just enough enough doubt that they might bring somebody in because they're two backups. They only have 3 running backs on the roster right now. Backup is second-year player Chase Edmonds and DJ Foster. DJ Foster is basically a special teams player. I loved him coming out of college. He went to Arizona State. I'm an Arizona State season ticket holder out here, so I love DJ Foster. But in terms of the pros, he's a back of the roster running back who's going to make his money on special teams. He's going to be fighting for a roster spot every year. Chase Edmonds, they talk about how much they love him, but actions do speak a little bit more than words. When David Johnson went out and Chase came into the game and he played 24 snaps, they called his number a total of 3 times. He 1 carry and 2 receptions, and he does things really well, and they've raved about him since they've drafted him, but he's not David Johnson. So it wasn't a case where they exactly trust him at the same level as David Johnson. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that because I don't know what to expect.
When I looked at the running back snap counts for week 2 and I saw that Chase only got 3 touches, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's tough.
Johnson was out for a little while.
Yeah, that's tough.
So I was kind of shocked by that.
So keep staying on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, how going into the preseason, it was all the talk that the offensive line wasn't that great. Have they gotten better? Is it a matter of is Kyler hiding? Because this is what we dealt with Cam. with Cam's scrambling ability, it kind of hid some of the deficiencies in the offensive line play. Is that the case here? And is Kyler a willing runner? I've seen him. I haven't really watched a full game, to be honest, of the Cardinals, but is he out there just taking off, or is he like I'll wait and just kind of take off on a have-to type guy?
Well, thus far through 2 games, it looks like he's been actively, at least against the Lions, it felt like he was actively not running. Like he was purposely not running. And then from there, he did a little bit more against Baltimore, but it's become very clear that he's not a Cam in terms of his rookie year. He's not a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen. He doesn't just take off. In fact, we haven't really even seen a glimpse of his running ability because he takes some of the Russell Wilson approach and hasn't run as much as. And I expect that to increase as the year goes on, where he can kind of see what he's going to get away with. But he really is. He's a pocket passer. He is a true passer. He's always looking down the field to make plays. And he has masked some of the issues on the offensive line. The Cardinals lost their top talented offensive lineman in Marcus Gilbert. I mean, he was an injury risk to begin with, and they traded a 6th-round pick for him from the Steelers. But there isn't any. You will be hard pressed to find a more talented right tackle. Tore his ACL in practice, and so we're going with Justin Murray right now, and probably Jordan Mills in not too long. Started the last 3 years for the Bills. The rest of the line has been serviceable. A.Q. Shipley's been okay. J.R. Sweezy was a nice addition. He brings a little bit of nasty and toughness. Mm-hmm. Justin Pugh is healthy, and he's capable. And DJ Humphries isn't bad. The main issues last year was just injuries. They're down to they're on their 3rd left tackle, their 4th right guard. They ended up with 7 offensive linemen on injured reserve last year. And so as long as they get some continuity, it'll be better than last year. And I've always said, when you've got a quality quarterback, you don't need a great offensive line. You just need an okay offense. You need a good enough offensive line. I think with Kyler Murray, that's all you're going to need is good enough. The Cardinals teams with Carson Palmer, when in 2015, the offensive line wasn't great. It was good enough. With Kurt Warner, it was good enough. And if you have a great quarterback, which everyone seems to think that they've got, at least the future going to be a great quarterback, you don't need a top offensive line. You need one that does just enough to get your quarterback time to throw and make plays.
Yeah. So that's my only concern about this game. Well, not only concern. There's a lot of concerns, but one of the biggest concerns is his ability to escape the pocket, and we have speed cutting off the edge, and they tend to over pursue, and break contain. It's gonna be gashes. Kyler's gonna gash us running up the middle or hitting one of those little. He doesn't need much room, right? He hits one a hole, and it's
no.
over. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah,
he's really fast.
Yeah,
he moves really quick and gets up to full speed in a hurry. We saw it in training camp. He is. If he cuts loose, he's probably the fastest player on the field.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, Dante might be able to catch him. Dante Jackson may be able to catch him. Dante's got 4.3 speed, but still, I don't know, man. It'd be a nice little foot race I'd pay to see. But yeah, I just don't. That concerns me because we've got Brian Burns, rookie. He's starting because Bruce Irvin is injured. He's got a hamstring injury, and just that he tends to over pursue a lot, and it's just it'll come with experience, but he tries to come around that edge and he just thinks he's gonna beat everybody with speed. But I just don't know if this one we might need to kind of fall back on trying to rush the passer so hard. So we'll see what happens. Dave, do you have anything else? Any other questions?
Did we hit all the fans' questions?
I think so. Oh, so how is real quick question, because we are huge fans of Damiere Byrd. I got a interesting story about Damiere Byrd. Last year, when he was on the Panthers, when they released the schedule, we had a schedule release party. I went to the team store, and I was standing in line, and he was at the cash register checking out. He was the cashier, and he actually,
no kidding.
he actually paid for my kids' shirt. I bought 2 little T-shirts for my girls, and he paid for both of them. So we are huge. Well, I'm specifically a huge Damiere Byrd fan. And I watched a little bit of the Ravens game. I saw he's actually playing a lot. He's getting some snaps, much more than he did with us.
He is an intriguing guy because no one really talked about. He was a very understated addition to the roster in the offseason, and everyone assumed that he would get cut. And he, since the spring, since offseason workouts, he's gotten extensive play with the first team. He was number 3 in snaps against the Ravens. That playing time will probably cut down a little bit as Michael Crabtree has worked more into the offense, but he offers just pure speed, and he's really, he's been good.
Yeah,
he made one of the biggest catches of the game against Detroit. He was tied with Christian Kirk with 6 catches and the team leading 6 catches on Sunday. He's been a pleasant surprise. I think he's going to probably be a pretty high variance guy, but he's made plays and has been a surprise because he felt like a roster bubble guy, but they kept playing him with the first team and getting lots of snaps, so it felt like, okay, there was going to be a place for him on the team, and it's looking good so far.
That's good to hear, man, because I'm a huge Damiere Byrd fan. And I don't think he got it.
Random statement. Like I've been looking into picking up Byrd in one of my deeper leagues because wide receivers, I'm desperate right now.
Yeah,
and I don't have to spend anything to get him. Nobody's thinking about picking Damiere Byrd up.
Yeah, the thing in Carolina is he stayed injured, so hopefully he stays healthy with you guys because he always had an injury and never really got a chance to stay on the field. He was always good in the return game as a punt returner, but he never got to stay on the field. So, and maybe that's just a mishap of our coaching staff, one of many that I will not go off on a tangent on. But I will keep quiet there. So, that being said, do you have any predictions on the game on Sunday?
Well, I think this is excuse me. I think it's got a perfect storm for the Cardinals and going to be unfortunate for the Panthers. I think they're going to come into town. Obviously, Carolina's struggling. I think the Cardinals are going to find a little bit of traction offensively. I expect them to come away with their first win of the year. What do I have? When I wrote my preview for Sports Weekly, I had the Cardinals winning 27-17.
Yeah, I'll take that. Actually, I'll take that. You know what?
There's one thing about Carolina, man. They're pretty good on the road, man.
Yeah, we do tend to play better on the road.
Really well on the road, better than we do at home.
Yeah, but it's just too many variables going on with Cam Newton going down, Kyle Allen starting. I definitely think the Cardinals get the W. I think they're like Jess was saying, they're going in the right direction. They've been in close games, just so close from pulling them out, and I just think it's prime time for them. I just don't. It's too hard for me to guess. As a Panther fan, I would love to get the W, but I don't see it happening. And it'd be great if we did. Go ahead.
The next 4 games, when it comes to like the teams that we gotta play, we play you guys on the road, then we play Houston, then we go home to Jacksonville, then we go to London to play the Bucks. So and the thing is, we just lost to the Bucks, but the Bucks have done this thing in London numerous times. So they got the routine down when it comes to going to London. So Arizona is probably one of the only opportunities to try to get a W, and it doesn't look good because Cam might not even be there.
Yeah, he's not. I wouldn't count on Cam. Let's just go ahead and rule him out. He needs to sit until he's healthy.
I swear, man, if they say, "Oh, he's ready to go," and I guess he was in a walking boot according to Eric Reed.
Yeah, he's in a walking boot.
Yeah, so if they say, "Oh yeah, he's ready to go for Sunday," I'm off with his head, fam, and I'm not talking about Cam.
Rivera. He's talking about Rivera. But yeah, so I told our listeners yesterday that if the Panthers win, I've got to wear a Cam Newton scarf on our live show on Monday. So I wouldn't mind wearing a scarf on Monday, but I don't know if it's gonna happen. But I would love to wear the scarf on Monday, but we'll see.
Man,
we'll
if
see.
If it don't happen Sunday, man, you might not be scarfing anything until Rivera's gone. So it ain't gonna be looking too hot for you with the scarf game.
That's funny.
So
But
you
that's funny. All right.
I think Arizona's gonna take this though, man.
I think so too.
I do.
I think they get
I'm
the
hoping
W.
it's not 10 points. I'm hoping it's like more of a 3-point variety. But I could see it, and then we're gonna go to Houston and get freaking mollywopped there too.
All right. So any final thoughts, Jess? Any final thoughts on the Panthers Cardinals game?
I'm hoping that Cam is not out for a significant amount of time. Cam is one of my favorite players in the league, and as much crap as he's gotten for his demeanor, I like how he plays the game. I like how intense he is, and I like that he loves to win and isn't necessarily thrilled about losing. That's something. He's just not a good loser, but that's okay. That means you've got someone who doesn't like losing.
I agree with you.
When you talk about that perception, man, that's why I think like folks who have a perception about him should watch All or Nothing. Because All or Nothing, the way like going through that season that they had to go through last year, Cam just wants to win, man.
Yeah, and it's
not see the injuries frustrating them throughout the year.
Yeah, they're saying he's like battling depression because he doesn't like going through rehab and watching the team go on without him. So it's tough for him. But we had a whole discussion on Cam, but it is what it is, and we've gotta roll what we got at this point. So that's all I got. So that being said, Jess, right. Do you want to go ahead and tell the people where they can find you just one last time, and we'll get out of here.
All right. Well, the site is cardswire.com. You can find the podcast on Rise Up See Red. You can find it anywhere where you find podcasts. It's all over the place. Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, Spotify. It's all of them. On Twitter, I'm Senor Jess Root. That's SENORJESSROOT. Yeah. If you're looking for Cardinals stuff, I've got it.
All right, man. Again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I know I hit you up about a month ago and got in your ear and you followed through. So I appreciate it, and I thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.